What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Third String Opinions, where we try to dunk the ball but can only touch the bottom of the net. Yes, welcome to the podcast where we are below average athletes, but we'll try to convince you that our opinions are of the professional grade. It's your host, David DeLegge, with my co-host, Jake Wallace. What's going on, Jake?
Let's run it back, baby.
Let's do it. Appreciate everyone for noticing that we weren't releasing a podcast last week. Want to apologize, but we do have some really positive news out of it. Our Third String Opinion family got a little bit bigger. It took some of our attention away. Jake, want to touch on that?
It did. We got a future, hopefully starting, I don't know, center fielder or something like that. Had a little baby, little Grady. He's gonna be a baller. He's gonna be a stud. Hopefully at golf, and then maybe some other sports too.
And when I say this, I don't just mean it because I'm trying to be nice to Jake, but is one of the cutest babies I've ever seen. So really happy for him and his beautiful wife. And that's obviously why we weren't able to record last week, so we had other things to take care of. So happy to jump in. We got a lot to cover today, so let's just go ahead and get going. So first and foremost, let's kick it off here. There's some pretty sobering news in regards to sports, and that would be the NCAA football announcements, with the Big Ten, Pac-12 announcing that they are going to cancel the season for the fall with the potential option of a spring season. At the end of the day, this is pretty much a big FU to the rest of college football and also the fans who are going to watch it. I'll stop there before I keep going into it, but Jake, what does this mean? What do you think about this whole thing?
Nope. Don't want to talk about it. Just going to ignore it. And if I ignore it long enough, then it doesn't mean it's true. It sucks. It really sucks. It sucks big time. So for multiple reasons. Obviously, one, because it's not great for college football and the rest of the sports world in general. Because it's one of those realizations that, the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting sports yet again, but it also sucks because the number one college football team that I follow happens to be in the Big Ten. The Buckeyes, the reigning Big Ten champs, they aren't going to get to have a season because of this stupid ruling by the Big Ten. And for the Pac-12 also, which it's a big time miss, in my opinion, and I think it's going to hurt college football pretty big this fall.
Yeah, I hate the way that it happened. You know, there was that leaked report saying that the Big Ten was going to cancel the season. That was the first one that came out, and everyone kind of immediately popped up. Was like, oh crap, is this actually going to happen? But then they all got together in an internal meeting to decide they were going to cancel the season, and only two conferences came out and did it. You know, I don't understand why, if you're going to let other conferences compete and they feel confident about it, what data, what medical science are you guys seeing differently that Big Ten, Pac-12 decided to say, no, we're not going to play this fall, we want to do the spring, but the ACC and SEC are like, no, we'll do it, and we're going to have 20% capacity of fans and all these different things. Like, all it does is hurts the players because you live for the big games. When you go through draft process to go pro, they're going to look at how you compare against the best competition. So the games against the Ohio States, the Michigans, Michigan States, you have that type of that environment, you're going to lose out on. So now you're looking at a recording of a crappy bottom SEC East team. You know, you don't get to play that top tier. And I think the lack of unity is a big miss on their end.
It's going to be such a bad, to kind of piggyback off what you said, it's going to be such a bad trickle-down effect on it all because there's just so many factors. So, all right, first, getting back into what you first said about how they came together and came up with this ruling. So I could speak on the Big Ten's behalf because I've obviously followed that a little bit more and read into it a little bit more. And so apparently they had all the ADs come together and make this vote, I say in air quotes, to make this a thing. And then some, murmurs and news spits out as the final ruling comes down that there never really even was a vote, that it was just it was going to be decided upon regardless, which is, it's just such a big gray area and it's just such a big black eye, man. And then going into what it actually means moving forward, I feel so bad for the players and the coaches and the ones that they have this big dream of, using this college sport as, hopefully in their eyes a stepping stone to get to the next level, that they won't have. It's just one less opportunity that they'll have. I think I saw a quote from Joe Burrow, obviously reigning Heisman, reigning national champion, stud last year.
Number one pick in the draft.
Right. He said if I didn't have my senior year, I would have been drafted probably in the 6th round of the NFL draft. But he was able to have his senior year in which he completely shattered records, and in some cases, some people say had the best, college quarterback season of all time, that then catapulted him to the number 1 overall pick. So it's like, it's just, I understand that there's health concerns and risk factors and things going on, but it's like, I feel like this was decided upon not looking at big picture, but rather looking through a pinhole. You know what I mean? It seems like a decision was made by a lot of people who don't follow football or something. I don't know. It's ridiculous in my eyes.
You're exactly right. The trickle down effect and how it impacts a bunch of different people in a bunch of different positions and current status to future goals and dreams. It screws everything up. So first and foremost, the idea that now, if they do host a spring season, at what point are you going to resync everything back up? You're not going to do a college semester because your students are going to be gone. You want to sell out stadiums. So you're going to have to do a fall or spring. Now, the ACC, SEC is going to have to play theirs. Now, Pac-12, Big Ten, and whoever else follows that path are going to play theirs in spring. When are you syncing it back up? You're giving one team less time away from more time away from the field, less time to get to heal and things like that. So you have that issue of it. And then I honestly think, if I'm Justin Fields, if I am a top 10 quarterback for potentially a top 10 pick of next year's draft,
right,
and I just trained my entire spring and summer to get ready for this year to try to take Ohio State to a deep run, and then you just rip that out from me, am I going to be allowed to transfer? Do you allow someone to transfer? Do you actually think this is going to be a long-lasting stand, or do you think they're going to get so much heat from making this decision they'll go back on their choice?
Exactly. And a big thing that they're gonna, this is why I wonder if this was like almost like a bluff, like a poker move, or which obviously there's millions and millions of dollars involved, so I don't think they would use this as a bluff. But what is going to happen when the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12 all have seasons go off on time, or relatively on time, with
delayed by 2 weeks. Yep.
Right, with their altered schedule, as they all put out. Even the Big Ten put out their altered schedule, which is fine, only in conference, whatever it takes. What's going to happen when those 3 other Power 5 conferences are able to have a good season, successful season? Sure, there's probably going to be a couple, positive COVID tests, but if they have the right, rulings in place, or right things come up, and if somebody tests positive, you quarantine that person, and hopefully it doesn't. There are ways to go about this. Professional sports are doing it, so there's no reason that these mega $1 million programs aren't able to do the same thing. So it's going to be a bad look for them, and that's why I wonder, going back to the bluff statement, that are they going to come back a little bit later and say, okay, actually we are going to go back on with the season. It seems like, it wasn't received properly. We're going to continue forward with it. I don't know. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. I just think it's a big joke. But here's another thing that I heard also that's just an absolute joke too. So your students are allowed to go to class. In majority of these schools, they're allowed to go to class, and they're going to be in the classrooms with other students, but we're not allowed to play a football game with or without fans. Who cares about fans at this point? And then also I saw a tweet from, I believe it was Michigan State, saying that they're going to resume this fall with their intramural sports. Well, that just makes plenty of sense. I mean, yeah, it makes total great sense. Yeah, why the heck not?
Right, intramural. Those athletes aren't worth the amount of the scholarship athletes who could get sick. So we'll let them go back in. We're going to protect the monetary asset that we refuse to allow any sort of revenue split till just recently.
I actually, not to cut you off, I just got, literally as we were recording this, sitting here, I just got a notification that reads, Big Ten reaffirms postponement decision. In new statement, quote, the vote was overwhelmingly in support of postponing fall sports and will not be revisited. I mean, this can't get any more live than it just came over my phone at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, August 19th. This is such a kick in the nads, dude. It's such a joke. It really is. It's such a joke. For what? I don't get it. For what?
It's hysterical. You have the SEC today said, and the University of Georgia was like, we are going to allow fans in capacity of 20 to 25%. So you have these two other conferences going forward with things how they are, delayed schedule, slightly altered for in-conference games, but even still considering allowing fans. And then you have the Big Ten that on the same day that Georgia announces attendance, Big Ten's like, no, we got so much support out of this decision that we're going to keep with it. Like, you know, it's a lie. They didn't get support. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come out saying they're going to reconsider it. They have. Right. It's just a complete publicity stunt and a lie. And for whatever reason, they can't trust it. I honestly think this is going to hurt every major school in the Big Ten and Pac-12, because if you're telling me that Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson are whatever it is are going after the same recruit, and like, hey, come watch our game that might not even take place in spring, but we want you to come here. Or do I go watch a SEC championship against Alabama and Georgia and get that vibe and see what that competition is going to be like? I'm going to go with that school. It's clear the Big Ten has no idea what they're doing, and it's insane.
Again, it's gonna mess up recruiting, because granted, recruiting takes place years in advance of the students actually coming. But a great point there. The spring game. Well, they're going to just have a spring season, but it's not even going to be it's not going to be a full player season. It won't be, I don't think, because you're going to have players who are seniors actually getting ready for the NFL draft. They're going to be like, no, screw that. I'm already going to get drafted. Right. Kind of going back to what I said earlier about the players who were maybe on the bubble, this just hurts their chances, but I don't know. And for college football as a whole, what do you think this does for... What are the implications here? Are they going to still have a college football playoff, but with only 3 of the Power 5 conferences? Or you know, bowl season? What is bowl season going to be like? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the whole thing's a sham now.
Yeah, and because they decided to go rogue. The fact that they decided to go rogue, honestly, like I said to open up this little segment, it, hand in hand, by all means, was a big FU to college sports, college football fans, because we all pride ourselves on our conference notoriety. We all pride ourselves on the competition our team plays. We're like, absolutely. Well, I have 2 losses, but I lost to the number 1 and number 2 team in the country. You lost to an unranked team. Like, we do that constantly. We have the same Ohio State Georgia debate every single year. Who's better? Who's overrated? Who's not? Whatever it is. And this just, I can't even finish my train of thought with that. It ruins it. You can't do it. Like, how are you going to sit there and say, hey, Georgia won the national championship, the air-quoted national championship this year for only conference games and didn't get a chance to play a Big Ten potential opponent? Sure, right. Georgia beat a Clemson. They're a great team. Cool, I did that. But is it a true championship when not everyone was participating? Like, is there an asterisk on that? Are you going to hold that over someone's head the rest of the time? And from another recruiting statement before we have to carry on to go to our next topic here, but a lot of high school students leave early, graduate early to go and start practicing. Right. Now, if you have a spring season, that means that the athletes who come in, who graduate in December, try to come in and have a full spring schedule with the team, will not get that same ability to learn the offense, to understand the new platform, new programs stuff. So it's like, You're going to lose out on those high school. Those high school students are going to be delayed another year. They're probably just going to add another year of eligibility. It's going to be nothing. So
it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just defeated.
I hope. The good news is that professional sports is still on for football, so as long as that keeps trending its way,
I hope we get some college football, and that'd be great. But it's like, so okay, I'm an Ohio State fan, an avid Ohio State fan. You're an avid Georgia fan, all right? You can clearly see my frustration and just sadness about this. If it were flip-flopped and reversed with your conference not, playing, deciding that they're opting out, how would you feel?
Probably. Right. I'd be so upset. I'd be so angry because I think take outside of opinion away, but I think that you could easily have your athletes do their same virtual learning, their same quarantine stuff, rent out a dorm room, put them in there for the entire team, a hall, and have them be quarantined and play football. I don't think they can't do that. It's just they don't. It sounds like they don't trust the players and the athletes. It would piss me off if I were you.
That's such a if that's the case, then that is such a joke of an excuse, because if they don't think that their athletes and players are more protected and on a better guideline and straight and narrow path when they're with the team and university than they are a lot of these players in their own communities, which probably, I mean, shoot, not everybody has the Trevor Lawrence background, and
right.
Exactly. So I think it's crazy. I think it's absolutely crazy. I think it's, again, such a big miss, and I hope that the Pac-12 and the Big Ten truly get crapped on the whole entire year. And every broadcast, I hope somebody brings it up because they deserve it. They truly deserve it.
I hope they try. I hope and I know I don't want this for you, but I hope they don't even do a spring season. I hope they have the same thing, and they just basically skip an entire year when everything else in the world went off without a hitch. A couple positive tests here, everyone stays safe, and majority. But this season goes off without a hitch, and they don't even do a spring season because now no one wants to play with them in the spring. I hope this gets thrown in their face. I know I don't want you to be upset about it. I promise you.
This was supposed to be our second season with Justin Fields in the offense. Man, we were going to do great things.
One cliffhanger to leave you on, Jake. Imagine if Justin Fields transfers back to Georgia, full circle, wins a national championship with Georgia, calls it a day. That's what everyone wants, and I'm not even going to let you respond. We're moving on.
You go to hell, David. Just go right to hell.
We are moving on. All right, so with that, we knew that we were going to start off hot and heavy with Triple. So
come on, man.
Let's go to something that's a little more mundane now because it's been going on for a little bit. Let's get back into MLB talk here. What excites you? I know we still see the Yankees pushing on and extending their lead.
Kidding.
There are some teams that are coming out hot as well. The Rays are kind of catching up to them.
Yep.
It seems like about at 25 games now, roughly through the season, we're pretty much seeing that everyone separate from the pack, and it looks like it's kind of now or never for teams to make their move.
Yeah, as I'm looking at it here, Yankees are obviously there. A team that's fun to watch is, though I know they're on the West Coast, so it's tough to see, but to follow is the Athletics. Mm-hmm. It's nice seeing somebody other than the Astros start, taking top of the league over there in the AL West, and obviously nobody wants to see the Astros do well this year. The Athletics have a ton of young studs. A lot of people say Matt Chapman, third base, is one of the, if not the best third baseman in the game. I know there's a lot of great third basemen, but he's an absolute stud. They got the pitching. They got power bats. They're going to be a tough team. They're going to be right there in the end of the AL, really is what I'm looking at. The Rays are there with the Yankees. 9-1 in their last 10 games, though they did have a series with the Red Sox, and I think, high school JV team could beat the Red Sox right now. They're so bad. You're right,
you say that. The Cardinals came off of the hiatus from COVID and swept the White Sox in a doubleheader. So,
the
Red Sox.
So, and then to your point of it's now or never. It is. It really is. It's like, okay, we're nearing halfway through this tiny short season. We have the trade deadline is less than 2 weeks away, which is going to be a weird thing. So yeah, it's now or never for the moves. And so, but here's a question that I think we need to bring up is, so the Cardinals have only played 11 games because of their hiatus. I think they said they already have 8 games or something, or 9 games that are going to be doubleheadered, which MLB made the rule that doubleheaders they're only going to be 7-inning games. So how does that leave the rest of the league when maybe there's a team that never played a doubleheader, and then teams that only played, that played 30 7-inning games? What is that going to be like? How do they? I don't know.
It'll be interesting what that breakdown looks like. We know for the most part you're playing every team in your division and conference an extra time more than you normally do. You're not crossing the country for out of conference games, out of division games. So I think everyone's going to be playing those doubleheaders in some essence. I think it kind of screws Cardinals starting pitching. Same with the Marlins. The Marlins are at 17 games. They definitely caught up a little bit more from when the start was. But yeah, Cardinals right now, I think it just completed their 12th game.
Yeah.
But I think it puts a lot of pressure on their starting pitching. If you think, and now's day and age, a starting pitcher goes 5-6 innings with good, consistent stuff, then they go into relief, and then they go into closing. Now with a 7-inning game, that those managers have to try to take advantage of when is a good time to end my starter's rotation. Maybe he doesn't start off hot the first inning, but he's throwing straight heat 2nd through 4. Do you let him go into 7 innings? Do you pull him too early and you bring in relief and not needed?
It totally
I think it's better
changes.
for hitters.
Yep.
I think it's better for the hitters for a 7-inning game than it would be for a starting pitcher. But I don't know. I do think it's going to be interesting if another outbreak happens and all of a sudden the season's supposed to go into playoffs and you're like, well, we still have 37 games to finish here.
Right.
What do you do there?
Well, no, and I do like the fact that, and we kind of touched on it in our previous episodes, where MLB, they needed to make some kind of rulings. Like, listen here, guys. We know that it's not viable for us to do an actual bubble like the NHL and the NBA did, because you guys still have to.
We've voiced our displeasure for that too.
We absolutely did. We absolutely did. But I think it was good of them to mention, listen, yes, you guys still do have to travel to other cities, but when you're there and you're in your hotel room, that's your bubble for the weekend. You know what I mean? It's there's no going out, there's no, going to meet out for dinner. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. There's too much going on. There's too much, and that kind of touches on another point. What's going on with the Indians right now is Zach Plesac, he's a pitcher for the Indians. He and Mike Clevenger, who's the leader of that pitching staff, they went out to have dinner with some friends in Chicago. People found out about it. They didn't necessarily test negatively one way or another, but it's like you just can't do that. Like you're putting everything at risk and the whole season in jeopardy in doing so, and even in that clubhouse, which is kind of an interesting topic too, is now players in that clubhouse are speaking out against those two that made the stupid decision, and they're like, though they're some of our better guys on our team, they put their own actions above everybody else's. And it's like, clearly, ask anybody on the Cardinals if they're going to go out again. No, because they had to wait the first 2.5 weeks of the season before they could even get a game in. So I think it's one of those things where, and you made a good point about nearing the playoffs, is it's time to crack down. It's such a short season. You got to crack down. You gotta forget going to dinner, forget going to get drinks. Exactly.
It's 3 months. It's 3 months of you deciding, hey, like the rest of the population was from middle of March until whatever the first states, and Georgia included, opened up end of June, officially reopening. But for 3 months, you're traveling to hotels with your teammates. You are eating in the hotel. You're doing your profession. Get in, get out, call it a day. After those 3 months, go out and go get dinner somewhere if you can. I'm happy to hear that. I didn't know about the clubhouse calling them out, the internal dynamics of it. So I'm happy to hear that people are starting to stand up to them, because if I am any team in the AL Central who has to play the Indians, and am saying, okay, if you guys are willing to do that for your own team and your own off time, what's going to stop you guys from having that? Then I meet you at first base and you have COVID because
exactly.
you went out the day before. Like
exactly.
I know we talked about it in one of our previous ones, but like same with basketball, like Lou Williams going to get food on his way back from a family outing.
Right.
Like you don't have to do that. So if at the worst case you order out, they deliver it. Or you order Uber Eats, they deliver it to you. You eat it that way. You don't engage with other people who are not in a bubble scenario like you are. So why on earth do people feel like this is something they can do when in reality you're doing your job, listen to your employers, and if I'm any sport commissioner right now, I'm fining the hell out of anyone who breaks a bubble.
Oh yeah.
Like you get no rights if you're gonna go out of your way to do this.
No, you're right, and we've already seen, again, with the Cardinals, with the Marlins, what the trickle-down effect that was. So the Marlins were in the Phillies visitor clubhouse, so not only does that, affect the Phillies, that also affects who's then coming into that clubhouse next that can't play. It's just a logistic nightmare, and we just want the season to go on. Whatever this season means, who knows what it means? Who knows if there's going to be an asterisk on it? Who knows? But just let it go on for us while we still can.
Give the fans what they want. It's bringing everyone so much joy. Just like focus, do your freaking job. Listen to your employers. Listen to people who are smarter than you around you, and just stay in a bubble and do this for us. All right, let's take a quick break, grab a drink, take a sip, wet the whistle.
Yes.
We'll be right back with you guys here, okay?
All right, let's hop back in. We got the NBA playoffs have started. That's exciting. The one thing I was thinking about the other day with these playoffs is these don't necessarily feel like how maybe baseball's feeling or college football might feel with an asterisk, because they played so much of the season already. I feel like it feels like, without fans obviously, that maybe this is still kind of like the NBA playoffs a little bit.
Do we agree that they might have done this right with the 8 games?
I'm kind of wondering that maybe these 8 games. At the beginning of the 8 games, and I know we touched on it on our last podcast, these 8 games, I didn't think that they were important at first, but it kind of, towards the end, you kind of felt like they picked up some intensity. It was almost like a pre-post season, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of interesting. A lot of good action.
I think it definitely started horribly. I will agree that the 8 game kind of restart to get the bodies back and feeling normal, which is probably the reason why it turned out to be a good idea, because everyone came out, there was no defense, you could tell everyone was rusty from however many months off. But as you coming out of the end, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to give those teams that were within the 2 or 3 games of the 8th seed the ability to play in to try to get in the playoffs. And what came of it was the fact that we had Memphis, Portland, the Pelicans. Pelicans kind of got out of it really early, but you had all these younger teams really trying to get in and fight for it. And then it was a Memphis Portland playing game for the 8th seed in the West. Right. So I think it did draw that excitement that I wanted to. It got everyone back into shape, and I don't want to say it doesn't have an asterisk. They played a majority of the season, but I definitely feel like there's still certain teams that are hotter than others right now, and we're able to acclimate much better to this type of atmosphere than,
that's a good point,
say, middle of the season.
That's a good point, because there were you kind of see too that there were teams during before the shutdown that were unstoppable, all world, i.e. Milwaukee Bucks, who now it's like, is this the same team? What's going on? So that's a good point. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, now granted, Milwaukee I thought for sure was going to at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They still might, and they'll play a good hard series against the Celtics, and odds are they'll probably win. But when you see the way they played against Orlando in game 1, it's just like if Giannis isn't shooting the ball well, he can drive and dunk on you all he wants. But if he's not shooting it, it's a completely one-dimensional offense. That. I definitely. Yeah,
but,
I don't want to dive in too much into a team.
Are you thinking that the Magic can pull the upset on them?
Over a 7-game series? No. 3 games?
Okay, I thought you were going to say over a 7-game series. Yes, I was about to be like, I was about to go.
No, I don't. I don't think. I honestly, and I can be very transparent here. I watched only half the game. Then I turned into a different one. So I didn't get to see how the Magic played the entire time, but it looked like they were just gunning for that first win. It's kind of in everyone's playoff mind that either the home team wins the first game because they're that much better, or the away team, who is the lower seed, just comes out with so much more energy because they're not expected to win and they sneak a game here and there.
Right.
So, no, I think I don't think the NBA is going to let Giannis lose in the first round. So I 100% think the fix is in. They're going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. So
there's a fix in something.
I think I'm going 5 games. I'm going 6 games. I think they'll win in 6 games. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like that's the upset. I think the upset does on the other side.
See, I don't think so.
No?
I don't. I mean, yes. So the Trailblazers had to have the play-in game against Memphis to get in. But I think this is what I'm thinking, to your point of teams are playing hotter now than some others were at one point. Portland is playing out of their minds right now. Damian Lillard, who was, I guess, in air quotes, the bubble MVP, rightly so, is playing out of his mind right now. He's playing like he is
best player in the NBA right now.
100%.
Right now,
100%. He's playing so well with, the side piece of CJ McCollum, and then you got 36-year-old Melo shooting post up for threes when he needs to. It is. I'm not surprised in that upset of a first game in the slightest, especially when there's no such thing as home field advantage now, or home court advantage.
Yep.
That's gone. So when you put it that way, I don't know. Maybe there will be weird upsets in this playoff system, because at that point it's no different than your best 5 guys, or you could say 11 guys against my best in a LA Fitness at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday night. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with, oh man, we got the momentum of the fans, let's do this. LeBron's got that look in his eye, let's go. I don't know. It seems like it completely leveled the playing field than what it typically would.
So are you thinking the...
No, I'm not thinking that they're going to pull off the upset. No, of course not. I'm just saying,
I also agree. I think the fix is in for LeBron to go to the finals, so I don't think that's going to happen.
Of course it is. Though, LeBron did have a brilliant first game.
I was going to make a mention. We talked about who we thought the MVP was. You had Giannis, and I dove in and said it's not LeBron, it's Anthony Davis, because Anthony Davis had led the categories of everything. And then he turned into playoff LeBron, and you see exactly what he did. Exactly. I mean, he didn't score 50 points. He scored 60.
But he had 14 assists.
23 points, 17 rebounds, 16 assists.
16 assists, which was all, I think, 16, I think his previous playoff high was 13, so he shattered that. LeBron's at his best when he's a facilitator anyways, because he knows he can score whenever he wants. Yeah, I don't know.
Right, and that's gonna get this point for the Lakers. I don't think the Blazers are gonna pull it off. I won't be surprised if the Blazers take them to 7 games.
Right.
You have a very hot team against a team that did not play good.
Yep.
LeBron and Anthony Davis combined for 51 points.
Yeah.
More than half of it. Other than that, the next highest score is Kyle Kuzma at 14, Danny Green at 10. Then it's 1 or 2 points across the rest of the board.
Danny Green's gonna have to step up big time if they really want to move forward, because he ain't been doing nothing.
The entire team has to do it. There's always this conversation. If LeBron's winning, and this is kind of my bias towards him, whatever, or not favorable bias towards him, but if he's winning, it's because he did it all. It's all on it. He did everything himself. He pulled the team through the mud and got the victory. If he's losing, LeBron doesn't have enough help. That's like it's never LeBron's fault they lose. It's always doesn't have enough help. I could actually agree he doesn't have enough help, because if it's only Anthony Davis is the only person playing well in the Lakers, at least in the game 1. Obviously, this could all change, but he actually doesn't have help if he's playing 41 minutes, gets a triple-double, his co-pilot gets 28 and 11, playing 40 minutes, and no one else can do anything. It's like, how are you supposed to win
If
that?
LeBron averages a triple-double this series and say they lose in 7, what's your sentiment on that? Is it because LeBron didn't have enough help, or are you going to stick to your hatred for LeBron and say, no, LeBron didn't do enough?
It's not that I don't think he doesn't do enough. I think the media and the publicity he's always gotten is that when his team wins, it's because of him.
Okay, I'm not asking about what you think the media publicity is doing. I'm asking what do you think is the case if that were to happen that way?
I think a 12-point, 10 rebound, 10 assists LeBron is a bad LeBron.
I would agree.
I think if LeBron does not exude his dominance and score points and take over games and score at least 20, 25 points a game.
I was going to say, I think
him doing 12 means nothing.
The perfect LeBron is 26, 10, and 6.
10 and 8.
Or something. Right, yeah. Exactly.
But if he does that, he did everything he needed to do to make this, to win these games.
I also think LeBron understands what holding on to the rest of the however many years he has left and becoming a better facilitator, not better because he's already been a good one, but becoming more of a facilitator benefits his career longevity, and I think we're kind of seeing that. But if that's the case, then those guys like Kyle Kuzma, Danny Green, they're going to need to start helping him out to step up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean Danny Green with the Raptors single-handedly, basically, besides Kawhi Leonard, won that series for them against. Like, he was unbelievable, being a great 3-and-D player. So I'm going to assume he's going to score more than 10 points and get more than 2 rebounds moving forward. So I'm not quite worrying about that. I think if we're overreacting on one game, Lakers are going to lose, because if LeBron doing what he did and AD scoring 30 points doesn't get him a win,
right?
Then how are they going to do it? I do think the Blazers snuck up on them there.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I have witnessed LeBron beat my team and teams I've been rooting for years in the East. I know what it does when a man turns on playoff mode. It's hard to stop. Yeah. So he has to be that LeBron. He has to be like 2010 LeBron to pull this out if everyone else plays the way they're doing.
Agreed. I think, just to not continually just to talk about the Bucks and the Lakers, I think if there are other teams we kind of touch on, the Heat are very interesting to me. Jimmy Butler's got a look in his eye that is like, man, he's trying to do something down there in Miami, and so far he's doing it. And I know that
he's a grimy. It's like a grindy, not dirty, but like he wants a very physical fight.
He does. But I love that about him. I love his tenaciousness like that. And then the Raptorless Kawhis, as I've been calling them, they're doing it, man. They're doing it. They're fun to watch. That East is going to be. It's going to be interesting, especially with Gordon Hayward being out for the Celtics. That East is kind of up for grabs. I still kind of agree with you that the Bucks are going to end up being the representative out of the East, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think the fact that the Heat they brought in Jimmy Butler, they brought in these players, Andre Iguodala's on the team, they brought in this veteran presence, and they all bought into like, we're gonna pull you down with us, and we're gonna fight you every inch and nail to get a point. And the fact that the young guys even bought into it is what makes them so fun to watch. Not in a highlight reel way, but like we're just gonna get after it. We're gonna outwork you, and that's what Jimmy Butler's done his entire career. He always hated people who never did it with him. Anyone who he thought was working less than him was inferior. And it's crazy that he found on his 4th team at 30 years old, in his 4th team and however many contracts later, he found a team that's actually going to buy into it.
You're still just bitter it wasn't at the Bulls.
He was the reason that team blew up and self-destructed, so I'm never going to give him
Okay, here we go.
All right, so you say the Heat, Pacers on the East. I want to call out the Thunder and the Rockets. This one,
I think that series, even after one game, is over.
No, this has so much more potential, and I'll explain it why. Last year, it was Russell Westbrook, Paul George against the Portland Trailblazers. Damian Lillard literally blew up the Thunder's team. Yep. Him knocking them out blew up Sam Presti's plan to where he traded Paul George, he traded Russell Westbrook, was like, okay, that didn't work. Now you look at the Rockets team, who have James Harden, who cannot win a playoff series, and then Russell Westbrook, who can't win a playoff series.
Right.
When Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant were up 3-1 on the Warriors, couldn't close it out and lost that series. So you have these two players who can't get it done, and now they're playing an Oklahoma team with Chris Paul, who is one of the best leaders in the game.
Yep.
And a lot of young guys. Like I wouldn't bet on it, but I would say it's interesting. It's a good one to watch.
I don't know. I'm still Rockets and
your opinion doesn't matter anyway.
Rockets in 5. Rockets in 5.
Rockets in 5.
James Harden's just. He's going to score 78 points a game, and as soon as Russ Westbrook comes back, he's going to score his 35 points. It's Rockets in 5.
If you score 78 points a game, that's great. What happens when you give up 79? Still lose.
He just doesn't need to play defense, so let his teammates play defense.
All right.
Let's move on.
All right, let's go into the other playoff series that's full.
This is another one we don't have to talk about. NHL's over. I thought the series was already over.
No, it was. The Canadians knocked out the Penguins, so the season was over at that point.
At that point, season's done. See you next year.
Stop watching. All right, so I guess from a whole, we focused on this with the NBA, what we thought was a good idea with the 8 games. At first we didn't like it, now we thought it was a good idea. Do you feel the same way about the play-in series?
No.
Because I kind of have a change. I'm kind of changing my tune there.
Yeah, I don't think it was a good idea. I think it was stupid.
All right, take your bias out first, then answer the question.
Okay. So, I think it was stupid because my team would have been in the playoffs and had a full 7-game series that they didn't get to have. This doesn't excuse the fact that they played like absolute dog poo and couldn't get any intensity and played terrible defense and left their goalie out to dry, waited until game 4 to score a power play goal. None of that matters. They would have had more games to play. They were heating up at the right time. No, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough one because I understand they had to make changes because of the COVID reasons and there being a bubble and they're trying to get this in when realistically they're about to start up preseason and spring training for themselves in what would be the 2021 season.
21.
So, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess they had to do it, so I can't be upset about it. I'm just bitter and peeved that my team's window is closing and I don't want to admit it.
Yeah, join the club.
Yeah.
My team won the play-in series, and I'm still. Selfishly, I'm happy it was a play-in series because I finally got to watch the Blackhawks play postseason hockey again for the first time.
And show some sparks there too. And they showed some sparks.
They're onto something. They're still missing defense.
But it turned out that their spark was just a flash in a pan.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was bad. I think it was a bad idea because honestly, when the Blackhawks are 6 points or 7 points out of the playoff picture in 12th place, they're the last seed, and just because the Blackhawks got better acclimated to the bubble and can play at a better rate with our veterans, we beat a Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl Oilers team that honestly, with a couple more games under their belt, like the Penguins, could have gone deep in there. I think
agreed.
Selfishly, great for me. I do think it was a big mistake, and it proved that way with both the Habs and Blackhawks beating the number 5 seed respectively in each conference. And then you see it in series round 2. Like Blackhawks got eliminated in 5 games. Lightning, not Lightning. I'm sorry. Flyers are up on the Habs. It's I like it. It got everyone in there. They did it right. I just don't think it was necessarily fair to the teams that should have already been there.
It's interesting. I mean, does this season series league have an asterisk on it? I don't know. It's tough. I hate saying that, and I hate the fact that each one is going to be like, oh well, they. I've heard people call it the COVID Cup, or the Corona Cup instead of the Stanley Cup. It's like, is that what it is? Like, I don't know. There are some teams that are still balling out like they always have, though. Like the Lightning, they're going to be so hard to beat in the East. The Lightning,
yep.
I don't know, the stupid Bruins. We mentioned kind of before on a previous pod. I was really looking for the Canes to make a leap this year, and they have. They're doing all right, but down 3-1 to the Bruins. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know if there's an asterisk on it.
Go ahead.
I don't know if it's an asterisk on this one. It feels like hockey definitely had if you were 5 through 12, for instance, of any one of those seeds, you had to play 5 more games potentially than everyone 1 through 4. 1 through 4 got to sit there and only play some round robin games one time against each team. I don't think there's an asterisk. I think they definitely did enough work on both teams to where they still gave it an advantage to the top 4 seeds,
yep.
which always happens in every playoff. I do agree that there's some teams that are still flying high, and I think we're going to see the same people in the semifinals, or the conference finals for each side. I think Dallas versus the Golden Knights is the West.
Yeah.
I think the Knights are just the Knights of the Miami Heat of hockey. They don't jump off the page
yep.
being flashy. They just beat you.
Mm-hmm.
They're fundamentally sound, and they're bigger than
yep.
you. And then and I agree. I think the Lightning and the Lightning and Bruins are still the way to go in the East. But
I think a surprise team that, gosh, I was watching some of this last night, and as it was on TV, I grunted, and Kate was like, "What?" And I was like, I hate hockey. I hate every team in the NHL other than mine, and there's no team that I even just kind of like watching. She was like, "So who do you want in this game?" And I was like, "Well, obviously not the Capitals. I hate the Capitals, right?" And she's like, yeah. "So then the Islanders." And I was like, "Well, they're in the Metro too with the Pens, so I hate the Islanders too. But obviously I'm going to pull for the Islanders, and the Islanders are kind of shocking the Capitals right now, and they're kind of a surprise team."
Ooh. If there's 2 teams I want to get COVID right now and be completely safe after COVID.
Literally every team in the East, I'm not a fan of. I hate every team in the East. And
I can pretty much find my own issue with every team in the West. I am still though in like flying high that the Blackhawks just even made it. So it's like, okay, I'll watch Red Sox because of it.
Playing on house money the whole time.
Yeah, they were going to lose no matter what. It was a matter of when. The fact that we just got one separated.
You got that couple week high of postseason hockey where you could have a celebration stogie and just enjoy it with your dad.
My jersey
yeah.
I had my jersey on. I had other jerseys laying all over the house for good karma. We have our own little what do you call it? Superstitions of how to make the team win. We had a group chat with my uncles. We're all pumped about it. First time 3 years. This group chat literally only turns on every playoff season. So for the Blackhawks for 3 years not being in playoffs, the last message was from 2017. I'm like, boys, we're back. Let's go.
Hey, so you got to ride that high for a little bit.
Yeah, so that's also So I'm not angry because it helped me out, but.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, I do feel bad for the Pens. I feel bad for the Oilers. And I still think at the end of the day, none of these teams outside of 1 through 4 are going to make it.
Agreed.
So it doesn't really change much, just however long it took to get there.
Agreed. Well, we did have a major championship in golf last weekend.
We did. Our picks did not happen.
Our picks that we said on air did not happen. Though I will have to brag on myself. I went back and I kept looking at some picks, made a couple bets, and Mr. Colin Morikawa wins the PGA. Got the money signed up. A little bit of cash money on my boy there. 23 years old, he won that thing, and man, did he do it in a cool, calm, collected fashion. It was awesome. It was awesome to watch.
Driving the green, knocking in an eagle putt, just to
Oh my gosh. You want to talk about, on hole number 16, the nads to pull out a driver on a drivable par 4.
Only one stroke off the lead.
Oh my gosh. It it was crazy. And then he knocks it 7 feet, gets his eagle, gets the hell out of there. It was awesome.
Walks away.
It was awesome.
I think, great. I believe his odds last week were like 22-1. So he wasn't favored completely, but definitely was still up there and had some people rooting for him. He definitely plays great. It's just, it has to be such a confidence boost that you win the first major, going into then you have 1 week break before you start right into FedEx Cup. Then you go right into the next. It's the U.S. Open next, then the Open, and then Masters in November. Like, how? If I'm Colin Morikawa, I feel so good about my game right now. I just crushed it. I think he's one of the winners in that week. Obviously not from a position standpoint, but like just overall game where he's at right now. I think he's a big winner.
I think so too. The thing that I love about him and love watching him is he's so, like I said, just cool, calm, collected. It doesn't seem like anything phases him. I mean, shoot, what was it? 2-3 weeks prior to that, he went toe to toe with the world #1 in a 2 or 3 hole playoff. After JT at the Workday Championship makes a 51-foot bomb, Colin Morikawa then comes in with a 26-foot bomb, drains it, says, "Yeah, dude, I'm not backing down." Ends up winning the tournament, and then 3 weeks later becomes a major champion at 23 years old. I mean, I love the kid's game. I think he's got some good game moving forward for sure.
I don't think we'll ever see the young talent level of what Tiger was at when he came on the tour and things like that. But I think the game of golf is in such great hands.
Ooh, I totally agree with you.
Like it's everyone's in that golden age of young 20 to 30s.
Yep.
You got Rory being basically the oldest one out there right now, outside DJ.
Yep.
I think golfers ranking 1 through 10 for the next 5 years are all going to be competitive every championship. So I think it's just a perfect.
I think so too.
We're hitting the cusp of the best age of golf right now.
We are, and I can't wait for some natural rivalries to kind of ensue. Like you've already got the Brooks and the Bryson DeChambeau kind of already have a little bit of a rivalry. Brooks and Rory kind of have a little bit of a rivalry. I think it's so much fun to watch, and golf needs that. Golf needs if honestly, I mean, both of us think this way. If Tiger could win every tournament, I wouldn't complain about that.
Happy.
But I do love the fact.
Perfect at
that. Right. But I do love the fact that there's this guy's winning, but he also knows this guy's gunning for him, and then that guy's winning. They're both playing similar game, and I agree with you. I think it's in good hands, and it's such a good spot for golf right now.
While we're talking about the great spot of golf, let's talk about the blemish that came out with Brooks calling out DJ.
Yeah, that was. I wonder about that. I wonder if
they're friends though. It's not real.
That's what I was wondering. If that was like real, like jabbing your boy, or if it was he was just. Just kind of like, oh yeah, what does he have? One major? It has to have been just a jab, right? He wasn't really dogging him, was he?
These two like work out together. They hang out in the off season together. I don't think they're actually like heated.
I think so too.
With each other at any point. I think it's just like a fun jab. Like, oh, you could cool. Keep talking about DJ. How many times has he won in the past?
But I do
years?
think
got it.
The Brooks on Bryson troll that I love.
The Rory back to Brooks after DJ called.
Agreed. I love that stuff. Golf needs that. Golf needs that not necessarily villain, and I guess you could call Brooks the villain in this situation.
I mean, it's Patrick Reed or him, right. Yeah.
But golf kind of needs that villain to good guy, and then the Batman steps up, and then this guy. You know what I mean? Like golf needs that. Golf is so much fun with that because. Golf can, if you're not a avid golf fan, golf's boring. Golf can be so boring, and that's just
if there's no fans, right. Of course, golf is boring.
It is
like if you have no interaction. Yeah.
You totally need that I don't know, back and forth. This guy, that guy said this about that, because otherwise, then it's just a bunch of guys swinging sticks at balls. We do have the
hockey.
Yeah, pretty much everything. At least we're not bouncing a ball. We do have playoffs starting this week. Playoffs are at the Northern Trust up in Beantown. Tigers playing this week. which I know we're excited about.
We have always tempered excitement.
Tempered excitement.
But yeah,
Tiger also today, don't know if you saw, confirmed that he's going to play the BMW next week.
He's in full mode.
Kind of makes me nervous, though. Kind of makes me nervous because as we've said before, Tiger, we know that he's getting older. He's getting to an age that maybe he can't put in all these rounds as he wants. But I did see a quote from Tiger today in which he said, he wants to get in as many positive rounds as he can because he knows that it's playoff time, and he wants to get himself in the, not just get points for playoffs, he wants to put himself in positive, progressive points for the end of playoffs at Eastlake. And man, I just absolutely love when he goes ham like that and just comments like that, because it's like, gosh, he still has that.
He knows what he's doing. He's not just doing this like off a whim. He knows what his body can take.
Yep.
He knows how much practice time to put into it. He knows what it's going to do. And at the end of the day, he's won at Eastlake. He loves Eastlake. Yep. And then in November, you have the only tournament that's ever mattered to Tiger in November. So like he has to get his entire body into the right path.
Just grind it out.
He's ready for those majors.
You're right.
So we're talking about Northern Trust.
Yes.
Let's end it here and figure out who you think's gonna win this one.
This is a tough one. It's hard because obviously this is the first time this year that we're coming off the high of a major, which we haven't seen. It's also tough too because we're not used to seeing the first major this late into the season.
Right.
If I were to pick a winner this week, like if I'm going just off the hip, that's tough. Jason Day.
Whoa.
Yeah, right. I'll go Jason Day this week.
I think
Jason Day's been playing some good golf. He was there. He was there at the end on Sunday. Didn't finish it out the way that he wanted to, but he hasn't been in contention on a Sunday in a while. So I think that's trajectory is doing well for the first time for him in a while.
I like that pick, and I'll tell you why. We know, and at least in the past here, the Northern Trust is a course that you can drive the ball a million miles because fairways are wide. The landing spots are wide. Mm-hmm. But you have to be able to play your irons in the specific spots. You have to be the best ball striker with your irons to put them where they need to be, put the ball where it needs to be on the green, and then obviously as the days go on and the greens start to dry up, you got to be able to throw the ball high in the air. And what does Jason Day do really well? Mm-hmm. Hits the ball high as can be. So I could get behind that one.
Thank you.
I think a big hitter is going to win it. I just have a feeling if you're accurate on a course where you have no fear to try to drive as far as possible.
You're going Hulk. You're going Hulk.
No, because I don't trust him with his irons. I don't. I don't trust him on the. If you just told me who's going to win driving distance, I'd go Bryson DeChambeau and call it a day. I like John Rahm.
That's a good
pick. I think Rahm gets into play. He hits still a good distance out there, and his irons I think are probably top 3 in the tour right now. So
I would agree.
I go
like
John
that
Rahm
pick.
on this
That's
one.
a good pick. That's a good pick. What some other odds that there are out there? Bryson is the favorite at 11-1. You've got Rahm, JT, Rory 14-1. The most recent major winner, Colin, is 22-1. Now, do you think that's based on coming off the high of a major, or I don't know? Because we said the same thing.
I think he was I think it was 25 or 22 last week as well. I don't really.
Right, he was 25. I got him at 25 last week, or 2 weeks ago at the major.
I think it's an insult that he didn't move up a little bit. Like some of these guys are still out there who didn't have great rounds, but I think when these odds come out, it's like, what's their pedigree on these courses? What's their consistency looking like? I think it's a safe bet. I wouldn't maybe not pick him to win it, but I would take him to finish if you're able to take a kind of a parlay, put them in the top 3, top 5.
Yeah, and you can also bet top 5 finishers, top 10 placers, top 20 placers. You know, you can do all that. And you're right, that maybe doing getting him at some decent odds for top 20 would be good.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, he's been playing a ton recently, consecutively, so he's only 23, but you just hope he doesn't get too worn down. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think I think he's a safe bet for one of those range bets there. All right, well, while we're picking, let's start wrapping things up here. What do you who do you got for the NBA? Let's think about, I don't know. Give me something. Give me whatever you think. Give me a pick of the NBA you want to watch for.
I think I kind of alluded to it earlier. I'm going Rockets in 5. I think Rockets are just going to close out the Thunder in 5. And
I need everyone to listen to this because when they don't win in 5, just want to make sure we're all clear on this one.
That's my pick, is Rockets in 5. What do you got?
I'm going to go... I don't know. What series matters to me? I don't care about I think the Sixers are done. I don't really care about them. Actually, I'm gonna go Blazers over the Lakers in 6 games.
Okay. Wow.
I don't know if the NBA will allow it, nor I think LeBron will allow it, but I like to shoot for the stars here, and I think it'd be pretty sweet to watch.
Really gonna try
Damian
and
Lillard
blow your load on podcast episode 3, huh? Okay.
Hey, it's a shortened season. We're fine.
All right, yeah, sure. You die on that hill. NHL winners. Actually, let's not do series winners. Let's see, who do you think is the cream of the crop of their respective league, West or East? You go West since you're a West guy, and I'll go East. Who do you think is going to be the representative? It could be a long shot, or it could be just who your gut is, or who your favorite is.
I think the Knights will be the Western leader.
Okay. I'm gonna go on the East. Gosh, everything says go Lightning because they are the cream of the crop. But I'm gonna
the same thing. It's like it has to be.
I'm gonna go on a wild card and say the Islanders. That would be nuts.
You're diving in
deep.
hard because they're beating the Caps.
That's deep.
All right, I blew my load episode 3 on NBA. You blew your load on episode 3 for NHL.
That's such a deep dive, man. But I'm there for it. MLB. We touched on MLB earlier. We kind of talked. Yeah, we talked about who's there. It's make or break. It's there's a couple teams that are there in the bubble. I mean, I am interested to see how the Cardinals bounce back from not playing for so long to playing a lot of doubleheaders. They seem to be kind of floating a bit, but I guess we'll see how they do. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on MLB?
I'm watching the Cubs still. We talked about the first podcast that they came out of the gates hot. What was it, 7-1, 7-2 record? Kind of slowed up a little bit by going 500 the last 10. So I want to see if they're going to keep it up. If they end up winning the NL Central, for who they are and everything like that, I think it'd be a very big shock and great thing for the city of Chicago if they win that. So I'm watching the Cubs still.
All right, Dave. Let's jump into the last segment of the show. Every episode is our third string things. We give third string little thought tidbits of sports, life, anything we got on our mind. What are yours? What you got? Hit me with the 3.
All right, we're gonna rapid fire through these. I think it's officially time to retire unwritten rules in baseball. I think this is the most dumb,
preach it,
archaic, unspoken, unwritten rule in BS there is. Like you can't do a back toss after your home run because you have to act like you've done it before. You can't trot around the bases at a slower pace than whatever the dedicated mile per hour is because you have to act like you've done it before. And most recently, with Fernando Tatis on the San Diego Padres, you can't try to hit the ball when you're up 10-3.
So stupid.
Because
I'm so glad
the Rangers were
one.
offended. The Rangers were offended that they had just given up 7 runs in 2 innings. They were down 10-3 in the 8th. That they're mad that Tatis swung, hit a grand slam, bases loaded, and ran around. I'm sorry, if you just gave up 7 runs in 2 innings and you're up 10-3, what stop you from scoring 7 runs in 2 innings to end the game.
Is one of the youngest stars in the game who has such a bright future. Is he not supposed to swing the bat at a ball that he thinks he can drive the other way for an Oppo Taco home run grand slam? No, I mean, what do you expect?
Swing, hit the ball. It's in the strike zone. Just sit there, not swing.
If you don't want to get shown up 10-3. Don't go down 7 runs.
Better.
You know, jeez.
Hit better. Hit better. Do something.
You nailed it.
Stupid.
You nailed it.
Baseball over the past years have been losing viewership because it's so boring to watch on TV when you're not in the game and not in the stadium.
Right.
And now you're going to get mad at people when they do something that's more exciting. Get rid of these rules. Let them taunt. Let them talk shit. NBA players make a 3. They taunt all the way down the court. They dunk. They scream in the clouds.
Yep.
Let them have fun. The game will be much better for it. My next one is the NHL lottery gaffes. I'm not sure if you guys paid attention to it, but during the first round of the play-in series, they did the lottery where the New York Rangers actually got the first pick of the draft. Not a big deal, except when you listen to the way the soundbite goes of everyone announcing it, and compared to the guy who actually pulled the ping pong ball and displayed the logo, the fix was in that the announcer had called the New York Rangers having the first pick of the draft before the gentleman pulled the ping pong ball out to show the logo. Was this actually, I think, was there a delay? Maybe. It definitely looks like the pick was in.
It didn't look good.
It did not look. Doesn't look good.
NHL wants the Rangers back in there, man. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then my last one here, just to really wrap it up, is that it runs in the family. I don't know if you guys saw, Charlie Woods, Tiger's son, won his tournament, 9-hole tournament. He played with Tiger on the bag, walking with him. He shot a -3 and was 5 strokes ahead of second place. So
in 9 holes.
I think when Tiger...
In 9 holes.
In 9 holes. I mean, it is easy. It is a lot more beneficial to have a 83 PGA Tour winner, the greatest golfer to ever play, telling you where to hit the ball, maybe. But
no, I do have a thought there. It kind of concerns me that he's carrying the bag the whole time. We got to worry about that back. We don't need.
It could be a walking bag.
Yeah, we don't need Tiger.
No one's
messing
shown
up his
videos
back.
of it, but we'll see.
But old Chuck Woods out there just slinging the rock.
I think when Tiger's finally done, Charlie comes into play. We got a new Woods to root for.
That's exactly right.
What do you got?
My 3 things. First one. So the state of Ohio is allowing for high school fall sports as well as obviously their pro sports. This obviously annoys me. I'm happy that they're doing so. It annoys me just going back to what we first talked about today with the Big Ten and my team, Ohio State, not being able to play. But high schools are allowed to, and the professional. It's such a joke, dude. Can't even get heated about that again.
College intramurals are allowed to. Stop it.
Silly.
Stop it.
It's silly.
Thank you for saying it, but we're not doing it again.
I know. So. My second one is Tiger and JT got a practice round at Winged Foot, which is where the U.S. Open is going to be in a couple weeks. They both said it is playing very long and playing very hard. So that will be interesting to see. They haven't played there in about 15 or so years, but it'll be interesting to see how that one plays. I'm super duper excited for that one. And then the third one,
seeing Tiger practice. I like it.
Oh yeah. And my third one is there's a ruling that came out a little bit earlier from the D1 Council, D1 Sports Council, that says even if there's no fall sports for them, but they still play in the spring, they want to offer them another year of eligibility. I thought that was interesting because it kind of plays into what we were talking about earlier with, are they going to have a spring season? Are they not? Blah, blah, blah. What does this mean for players moving on? So
it's a Band-Aid for a much bigger issue.
It is. The final ruling comes down for that on Friday of this week. We'll see. I mean, what is that going to make me feel better? Justin Fields, if he gets offered to the NFL, he's going to go. So it doesn't mean shit for me. So there you go.
No, everyone's trying to get out. Everyone's trying to get out of the league or get into the league as soon as possible. They're not going to wait one more year for pride's sake. Get the hell out of here. No, it doesn't do anything. Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, everyone. Appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us. If you do want to follow us a little more closely, please follow us. Myself, David DeLegge, at David_DeLegge, and my boy Jake over here at JWall888.
Yep.
Tune in next week. We got some more topics, maybe some golf highlights from our boy Tiger winning.
Let's do it, Tiger.
Otherwise, third string opinions. Take care, everyone.
See ya.